Nice opinion. Just one tiny problem with it. Inspecting your post, it looks like your opinion is different from mine. Let me tell you something. I am the baseline for opinions. Any opinion I hold is objectively correct, and as a result, any other opinions are wrong. Guess what? You happen to hold a wrong one. I hope you know that your opinion is now illegal. I have contacted the FBI, the CIA, the NSA, the Navy SEALs, Secret Service, and your mom. You'll be sorry you ever shared your opinions. By the time you're reading this, you'll be done for. Nature will punish you. Humanity will punish you. Supernatural beings will punish you. Space will punish you. We decided just to make sure we'll nuke your house from orbit, so there's no chance you can run away. Everyone will know you will die. It's a small price to pay to remove your wrong opinion from this world.
All right, welcome back to another stream where today we're going to be watching. Oh, also happy Chinese New Year. We're going to action to the scores video on T1 doing 3-peat, you know. So I was going to do a G idol, but decided to, you know, just do something different this time around. Because why not? So, okay. If anyone's watching the watch back or playback, like the stream, subscribe if you want. Your thoughts in the video itself, and I guess we shall get started. I might talk about actually let's skip with it. Okay, add view and oh, okay, here we go. There we go.
5 wasn't supposed to be T1's year. Their top laner had left.
Yeah, of course I agree it's a downgrade.
The next face of their franchise had been benched.
T1 sub Gumayusi out.
It finally looked as if League's greatest team could no longer do the impossible. But we should have known, should have remembered, that's when they're scariest.
Kyle's on the run, T1's on the hunt, everybody on AL's dropping, and T1 are absolutely demolishing the LPL team.
Doran going in, doesn't connect, hookshot wall dive, immediately CC'd. Exhaust coming in as well. Combo over the top from Duma. Finds two. Exhaust is carrying, moves his way to the back line. Faker rains down from the sky. Locks up BDD.
At the beginning of 2025, everything changed for T1.
We will be having T1 sub Gumayusi out. Really for the first time since he and Teddy swapped positions back in 2021 with the Dany roster for Smash, their Challengers player who played alongside Reckless all year last year in Challengers. T1 have kind of made the statement to us that they're trying to get some additional data, find out what the best roster is going to be moving into the LCK.
Gumayusi, one of the most legendary carries in the history of the game, was benched in favor of an up-and-coming rookie named Smash. And while Guma was fighting for his starting spot, the rest of the team had come crashing down from the highs they hit at the end of 2024 as their competition had only grown stronger.
As now, Peanut flashing forward, gets this cleanse out of Smash, and now Viper is looking for him. Can they execute him? Yes, they can! Viper now, right in the back line, and he's getting bailed out. Will he be able to find it? The answer is probably yes, and look at this immortal Viking. Throws the undertow, takes down his former mid laner, and HLE, our LCK champions of last year, will be staying alive in the LCK Cup.
Everyone expected COFGK, the greatest roster of all time, to run it back. They were fresh off back-to-back world championships, inseparable, ready to make history once again, until Zeus left the team. It was a messy, confusing split that prompted months of speculation and accusations. But at the end of the day, Zeus joined HLE, and T1 were left with only one viable option: Doran, a player some people found almost impossible to believe in.
If T1 wins Worlds with Doran, I'll shave my head.
And he did.
I'll go bold. And I'm not saying that because I don't think they will. I'm saying that because I would be absolutely shocked if they could pull off a third world championship with Doran top lane.
Doran got his start with Griffin in 2019, a legendary roster full of young superstars who had already made a name for themselves as the next generation of Korean talent. They'd come second in their first ever LCK split the previous summer, narrowly missing out on a world's berth. Doran replaced Sword in May and rolled into summer as a promising rookie, the final missing piece for his team.
So he was put into the buy-in now.
Well, let's see whether Doran can do it. He flashes in. He's trying to do his best keen impression and does so beautifully. Khan's going to go down, and this is how you play decisive League of Legends. Cannon Barrage did nothing.
But Griffin fell apart at the end of 2019. Due to drama behind the scenes, they entered Worlds without their coach, and after bowing out in the quarterfinals, the lineup disbanded in the offseason. And Doran's bad luck was only beginning. For years, he bounced from team to team, from heartbreak to heartbreak.
Okay, Doran in trouble. He's going to flash and get out of the way. Nogari flashes on top of him. The Ignite is there. Oh! What? Just turns around, boops him. It is going to be a 1-for-1 trade.
What an unexpected kind of death.
That looked like a gentleman's agreement. It's like, yes, we shall both go down.
Then in 2021, he joined Gen G, where he established himself as an elite top laner, proving he could go toe-to-toe with the best players in the world. But internationally, it seemed he was doomed to failure.
Full waves the Elf would lose, so BLG are not willing to have that happen. Bin trading well on that top side. But yeah, I mean, it was Delight that started it all up. Bin.
Oh, he flashed in! Bin puts him in the bin!
And at just the right moment, they walk away with first blood and an extra kill to boot. Doran gets very low. Fudge, well, he threatened to die, but it looks like for now he will not. But Gen G, oh, Doran, you need to be careful.
Fudge coming in, Doran, nice body slam, flashes away back underneath the turret, survives with just what had to be 20 health. Doing Shuriken! Fudge gets a solo kill in the top lane, right between the eyes!
And right now, I feel like their Mega Ring is...
What?
What on earth?
Why'd you have to show this clip again? Come on, we've seen it enough.
Peanut and Doran have been possessed in these last two games.
It seemed that no matter what he achieved, Doran couldn't perform when the stakes were at their highest. Fans and analysts wrote him off. He was often blamed for his team's losses and rarely celebrated in their victories. Making matters worse, HLE decided to sign the greatest top laner in years, Zeus. Doran was being replaced, and due to his forgettable performances, he was left with few prospects. Even though his career appeared to be unraveling, Doran never stopped believing in himself. And he wasn't the only one. T1, the defending world champions, decided to bring him on as Zeus's replacement, and it was a decision that drew scrutiny.
Yeah, of course I agree it's a downgrade. But anything, if you replace Zeus with anyone, it's a downgrade. Unless you get Bin, maybe. I don't know. Or maybe Keen.
I would say Doran to T1. That's got to be my favorite roster move. That's got to be my...
But to the surprise of many, it wasn't Doran who was going to have a rocky start to the new year. After Zeus's dramatic departure from T1, no one expected another member of the legendary ZOFGK lineup to be absent for the start of the season. But in a decision that rocked the scene, T1's coaching staff benched Guma Yushi. Instead, Smash, a rising talent from T1's academy team...
And that didn't go too well, but a lot of these fans don't remember what Easy Hoon was subbed in for. Faker was not a starter at times.
Earned valuable stage time in the LCK Cup, where he put on some seriously impressive performances.
Canyon blocked there by the Warrior Trickster as Carrier getting taken down low, but Smash throws down the ulti. Duro in so much trouble, and Ruler throwing what autos he can, dodging a lot of these burst fights with a flash forward. The barrier, the hook goes wide, and down goes the Jinx, and there's no chance. That's the double, and Smash, oh man, if he wasn't certified before, he is now.
Guma Yushi was being left behind. Throughout his career, he'd made a name for himself as one of the most effective AD carries of all time on relatively stationary champions like Varus, Jhin, Aphelios, and Caitlyn. But he struggled to find success on more mobile champions like Kai'Sa and Ezreal, which had become a rare but glaring flaw in the greatest roster of all time. What's more, over 4 years of playing with this roster, Gumayusi had perfected a particular style. Next to Keria, the greatest roaming support in the world, he spent considerably more time than strong side carries like Viper or Ruler alone in lane. But in spite of that numerical disadvantage, like Viper or in the world, he spent considerably more time than strong side carries like Viper or Ruler alone in lane. But in spite of that numerical disadvantage, Guma was still able to find ways to succeed. It was an incredible strength, something that set him apart, made him the legendary player he was. But his champion pool had become a problem for T1's coaching staff. A coaching staff with a hungry, prodigious, strong side carry waiting in the wings. But for Guma, his time on the bench was brutal. A group of fans calling themselves the T1 Gallery had been Guma's biggest attractors from the moment he was brought in to replace Teddy in 2021. They'd insulted him and threatened him online, lobbying loudly for his removal, even as he stacked up accolade after accolade. And their hateful agenda only continued into 2025 as Gumayusi was fighting for his spot on the team. Guma was isolated, but instead of wallowing in self-pity, he rolled up his sleeves and got to work. He grinded solo queue relentlessly, forcing himself onto champions that had historically been outside his expertise, determined to master the likes of Kai'Sa, Ezreal, everything. Eventually, as public outcry reached its zenith, the company's CEO, Joe Marsh, stepped in. In a controversial move, he overruled T1's coaching staff and put Guma back into the lineup. And despite a few hiccups from there, Guma was back. Doran was finding his footing, and it was time for both of them to prove that they belonged.
Zeka going to be trying to dash around this one, and Peanut comes in. There's the last breath, and Doran getting taken down low. They were trying to kill him under the turret, though, and that was a mistake. Knockup will connect. It's a 1-for-1, but HLE, I don't think they're happy about that one.
Sees an angle to commit to that fight, but otherwise can just get pizza strength and turret gold by finishing it off, and that's exactly what he did.
Ooh, Owner and Carrier all diving in. There's a public execution, and Rich, in the blink of an eye, is just dead. Yeah, Guma trying to escape, but the captive audience, deadly flourish, and he just does a lot. Doran's getting the turret. I don't know whether they're going to be able to save it as he takes a lot of damage from the turret and Pungyan, as now he's going to try and cook him, and there he goes.
사실 모든 선수들은 항상 주전 경쟁 속에서 살아온다고 생각하고 뭐 폼이나 실력이 떨어졌을 때 언제든지 이렇게 바뀔 수 있는 게 이 프로게이머의 위치라는 걸 다시금 좀 자각한 것 같고 이번 기회에 좀 더 제 장점과 단점에 대해서 깊게 생각하면서 그런 부분들을 보완하고 또 강화시키는 시간이었어서 도움이 많이 됐던 것 같습니다.
As the best teams in the LCK looked to MSI, there were two clear favorites, Gen.G and HLE. But after Gen.G cemented their place as the strongest team in the league and sent HLE to losers, T1 managed a surprise upset to qualify for MSI as the second seed. And both Guma and Doran had played a major part in getting them there.
Good luck defending this dive. Well, there is that quickness that goes in, gets the charm onto Delight, who's kicked away. But here's the heroic entrance. Gumayusi with the Feather Storm, though, and he holds Zeka in place. The Winds of War come down, and the Sonic Wave is going to miss. That would have been a dead Zeka there, a dead gargoyle underneath the turret, and it might still be. As Carrier not quite with the amount of damage, but the feathers get recalled, and here comes Faker. He finds the angle. There's another Pyro Blast. It could be a triple for the Annie as Tibbers looks to clean up, and it's in fact the Blind Monk that gets it in the end.
Pulling ahead in this one objective-wise, still down in gold, but it feels less significant as Doran.
Public execution goes in as Viper is just going to get executed. They blow him up. fight is ensuing on the other side. Delight might give himself up, but the knockup is there from Zeus. He's trying to stand in the way, and Zeka might get executed. Here by Doran, he goes golden. And Doran is still alive. They take him down as the arrow is going to be there from Gumayushi.
Carrier goes in. Owner there as well. Finds the kick to get the double knockup. As they're now just looking to take down Peanut. They'll take that one very comfortably. Delight next on the menu. Delicious. Here's the knockup comes through. My God, the damage. As Zeka will be eviscerated. Nice. And Viper standing alongside Zeus underneath this turret. And Doran says, you are coming with me. The Krug Lord sends his regards.
일단 개인적으로 저도 작년에 속해 있던 한화생명에 또 친한 선수들이 많기 때문에 이제 한화생명과 같이 MSI에 진출하고 싶었는데 이제 한 팀은 떨어져야 해서 좀 아쉬운 상황이 오긴 했지만 일단 제우스 선수도 너무 잘하는 선수이기도 하지만 저희 또 꼭 국제전이 간절했기 때문에 이렇게 출전하게 됐으니까 또 좋은 결과 꼭 내야 할 것 같아요.
For Doran, it was another example of domestic dominance against Zeus, a player he'd always seemed to beat.
I mean, there's the whole joke of Doran is Zeus's father.
Even when their jerseys were reversed. Fans celebrated the fact that the win was on Father's Day. After all, Doran had been Zeus's father in the LCK for years. MSI turned out to be an incredibly competitive tournament, but T1 scrapped.
I did like that they decided to do best of five the entire tournament.
Their way to winners finals against the team that had been their kryptonite all year.
제가 타 팀에 있을 때 T1의 국제전은 항상 무섭다고 느끼고 뭔가 진짜 T1의 국제전 뭐가 있나라는 생각이 든 상태에서 이번 MSI에 참가하게 됐는데 저도 좀 웃길 정도로 이제 나머지 팀원들이 오늘 너무 잘해줘가지고 오늘 저한테 고맙다고 많이 생각이 듭니다.
It was close. Doran was playing out of his mind. Gumayushi was calm and clutch. But in Game 5, steps from the Grand Finals, Doran faltered.
You can see how hard it is for T1 without an angle of attack to kick these fights off. All eyes on Doran. The ambassador wants to keep things going. Quick flash out. Ruler still standing. Duro tries to get a sidestep, but it doesn't.
I don't think it was Doran. I think just Genji played just better.
Not matter. Keen keeping things going. And exhaust onto the ambassador. And it's Chovy! Chovy in the midst of the fight. Keeping it going as Keen wants to go forward. Guma off on the side, completely isolated. Eyes on the Dre, even though he might just be able to catch up. But it's the reset for Ruler. Ruler, 1.5 items. It does not matter. He's still managing to make it work. The zap there. Guma, 2v1, 3v1, 4v1. They continue to descend. Genji have found an angle of attack.
And moments after the game, Doran was quick to blame himself.
일단 가장 생각나는 건 당장 5세트가 제일 기억에 남는데 4용인가? 근데 어쨌든 중반 한타 때 제가 안비사로 궁을 좀 깊게 들어가서 그게 좀 가장 큰 페인이었다고 생각합니다.
T1 battled their way back to the Grand Finals, but then it happened again.
Keen and Chovy will start up the Herald, but T1 can sense something is going wrong here. Owner jumps in for the Spectral Maw on Duro, but he misses. Doran looking off to the side, but he's already been chunked. T1 bringing in the TP as Genji go after the Herald. It is claimed and secured by Canyon. Keen trying to get away from the Karma Root as Doran goes over the wall. Flash Ruthless Predator. Doran is low. Bullet time gets him. Gumayushi barely staying alive, but it's 2 kills back the other way. Chovy stepping up.
The New Jersey just didn't change who Doran was. He still couldn't make it past the final hurdle, couldn't put all the pieces together internationally. In the highest pressure games, he was still collapsing under the weight of expectations. Both Doran and Guma went into the second half of the LCK with something to prove. But in 2025, the LCK had a new format, one in which the top teams from the former spring split would be placed into a 5-man group. That meant that All season long, T1 played some of the best teams in the world. And while they held their own, it was clear that there were still some holes in their game. They lost in playoffs to HLE and Genji, the two strongest LCK teams for most of the year, qualifying for Worlds as the 4th seed. As T1 boarded a plane for Beijing, it had been nearly a year since they hoisted the trophy in London. A year since they'd won anything. But this was T1.
This video is sponsored by our friends over at Opera GX.
And we support the /the ad.
Who have the definitive browser for gaming. Opera GX has forged an official partnership with Riot Games and is the ultimate browser for keeping up with League of Legends esports during World Season. And to maximize your experience as a League fan, Opera GX has created Riot Corner, a one-stop shop where you can follow all the major World storylines as they happen. It's got tournament matches and results, a calendar, and all the live co-streamers so you can get every juicy morsel of your World's content in one place. You can access Riot Corner by downloading one of the official League mods in Opera GX, which is my personal favorite feature. You can choose from a collection of unique League themes that make your browser look really dope. So download Opera GX today using the link in the description and get started.
Before they could even play a match in the main event, T1 had to face down a major threat. In a new change to the Worlds format, the 4th seeds from the LCK and LPL had to play a best-of-5 play-in match to even make it to Swiss. One day in Beijing, one best-of-5, T1 versus IG. Loser goes home. But this was Worlds. A rookie and the Shy reunion stood in their path, but T1 came to stay.
The Shy is going to be spotted immediately. Good spell shield as the supreme display of talent doesn't find the angle, and the Protect the President comes on through from T1. Void Rush, not going to be enough, and it's Gumayushi that gets the better of the Rek'Sai. And the Shy may have thrown a bit of this lead away, but IG still standing. We'll see what they can get from this. It's a decent stun onto Ona. He's out of the way, but the side big shove comes through. Pop lots him only onto one as Gala's forced to run away. Such a low health bar. As the boss responds, not quite enough. Rookie goes down. Gumayushi's free hitting, and it's another one for Ona as T1. Just make a team fight win out of nothing. Good spell shield there from Ona. Going to deny the hook in as Faker distorts his way back again. The knockup going to go wide from Doran, who flashes away. Now the Ram is going to show his teeth, but that's a brilliant stasis to come on through. Ona goes in. He survives for so long, way too long. Wild Growth comes in, and it's Gumayushi with the damage.
T1 will have every member alive to assault the IG base. Scala trying to defend, but it's no use.
And the Ziggs that was their Achilles heel is finally going to be taken down as T1 will make it to the Swiss stage to defend that World's title.
T1 still had a long road ahead of them in the Swiss stage, though, because things got off to a rocky start.
The Rise ulti.
We are going in. Driver's going to stand there. Decimating smash. Baker's down. Junja also going to help out as Doggo ran into melee and started hitting the Void Queen. Double over to Junja, and what a realm warp that was.
All right, flank around the side from Doran.
Oh, Guma's carry a 3-man pulverize almost. Ruler disappears as well, but Baker, as he jumps into the whole team, makes a crucial mistake. Doran now comes in, gets a flush out of Ruler, reposition from Gumayushi, a 5-man cyclone. Ona finds the angle, but it's too late in the fight. Genji have annihilated T1 as Guma runs for his life, but he's tagged once again.
T1's players were sick and struggling to compete, and after their loss to Genji, they sat with a 1-2 record. They were officially off to the worst world start in the organization's history.
But it's Worlds T1.
개인적인 경기력의 평가는 좀 안 나올 실수들이 자꾸 나오는 게 개인적으로 속상해서 그런 부분을 첫 번째로 고쳐야 할 것 같고 좀 8강부터는 꾸준히 잘하는 모습을 목표로 해볼 생각입니다.
Still, T1 limped their way into quarterfinals, facing scrutiny and criticism. People said they'd gotten lucky, that a different draw wouldn't have seen them in quarterfinals at all. And their first opponents in Shanghai, AL, a team that pushed them to the limit at MSI back when they seemed like a much stronger team. This looked like the end.
I think the thing that is always weird when you're looking at any T1 series at Worlds is that like everything I have watched at this event tells me that I think AL should be heavy favorites, but it is impossible to ignore history when you're talking about T1 because there's so many times where they shouldn't be the team to win, especially coming into Worlds. And I would say that is the one difference between previous years and this year, is that usually the story is like in the LCK, they didn't look as strong. Once they show up to Worlds, T1 has never actually lost more than one game in Swiss or groups ever in 10 years of Worlds.
Doran was coming into the quarterfinals quietly confident in his new team. After MSI, he knew they could go toe-to-toe with AL and all the best teams in the world. He believed in the T1 magic.
일단 AL은 MSI 때 이제 만나서 또 이겼기 때문에 또 저희가 자신이 있을 것 같고 다음 경기를 더 잘하기 위해서는 이제 팀원들과의 소통이나 뱀픽적인 부분에서 더 이점을 가져올 수 있도록 한번 준비해봐야 할 것 같습니다.
But when they clashed in Shanghai, T1 showed that they were up for the fight.
Keria disengaging as AL's on the approach. T1 grouped up as 4. The Drake is down to 2,000 HP. Faker joins up with everybody. It's a 5v5. They go in immediately as Doran tries to lead the charge of the blast estimating smash, but he's only going to be beat down himself. A lot of damage to the Doran, but he is not down. Keria into the back line. The major engage from T1. Tarzan finds a supreme display of talent to make it a 1-for-1 so far, but T1 have the health bars. Faker rides the Weaver's wall as Keria's about to die into the back line. But Kyle falls! Tarzan falls! T1! They'll lose Keria as Gumayushi fights back, and Shanks is on the run. Faker and Guma looking for a little bit more with a piercing arrow going over the wall, and Faker's ready to flash. Another rock is thrown, and Shanks is buried!
And I think one of the things that really makes this team special is their team fighting. I think that they can play really fast, but it felt like so far at this tournament, they've actually played a more reserved kind of style where they are playing, more heavily for setup, more heavily for team fight. And there's just a certain number of teams where it just feels like it's hard to imagine like a fluke win against a team. And, when you think about like the Gen Gs and you think about like AL and you think about, T1 generally, teams that basically just team fight on a certain level where it's like, no lead is safe and you can't get a free win because they coordinate so well in 5v5, and that's kind of like how I see them, right? And it's one of these things where it's like you must be this tall to ride.
I mean, also they never lost to the Chinese ever.
T1 is that tall, but I think it means it is going to be a pretty incredible series.
When the dust settled after the first 2 games, T1 found themselves down a critical game to the Chinese powerhouse. Heading into Game 4, T1 were pushing Fearless Draft as far as it had been pushed on this patch thus far. And if they were going to beat AL, they needed to get creative. For T1, it was do or die. And so, as they often had in the past, they put all their faith in Gumayushi. But this time, there was a clear best pick for their draft, a champion he'd always struggled to play.
AL staying alive for now. Kyle and Hope both get away. T1 goes in. Gumayushi with a killer instinct, but Hope still lives underneath the turret. Doran's going in with a bellows breath, and it's first blood over to Keria. Kyle tries to counterattack with Zenith Blade, but he does not have what he needs. Doran now the target. Shanks doesn't hit him with a chain. He's got to try to get away as Tarzan wants to kill Doran. Shanks still in the back part of the fight. Tarzan with a 3. Then Impale. T1 still trying to fight as Faker arrives in. Shanks down to 150, and the blooming burst from Keria gets him. It's a 4-2 game, 8 minutes in, and T1 take the fight. Can't get any closer. Owner wants to take the objective. Paranoia's already gone out. Herald secured by Owner as the Ornhorn comes in, but only finds one. Keria locks up Hope. Gumayushi into the back line, and the AL AD carries already down. Owner tries to flash away. Doran in the middle of everybody, but Flandra barely stays alive. He should surely die right after the shield falls, and Owner kills him. Kyle's on the run. T1's on the hunt. Everybody on AL's dropping, and T1 are absolutely demolishing the LPL team. Flandra loses half his HP. The Mordekaiser's going to be your target. Here goes the Ornhorn. They knock Flandra up into the air, but again, nobody under serious threat. Tarzan with an impale onto one, but he's about to die. He flashes away. Guma flashes in. Carry with a 3-man pop blossom will seal the fate of anyone's legend. triple. Guma with a quadra. Only Flandra stands. Gumayusi finally dies, but AL will die with him.
Gumayusi popped off on his career weakest champion, a character he'd spammed in solo queue earlier in the year while he was benched. He looked practiced, confident, clutch. Guma was showing the world he took criticism seriously, that even his weaknesses could be turned into strengths. But T1 still needed one more game, and it turns out they had more surprises up their sleeve.
야, 뭐가 빡세? 문도 할 때?
근데 내가 정글링
문도 빡센 건 없어. 어? 빡센 건 없어. 아, 문도 하는 게 맞나? 어? 기발이에요, 보통?
기발 쾌적.
그냥 싸울 때 더블 키면 되는 거 아니야? 그리고 W를 맞춰야지 피가 많이 차.
This is the funniest part.
Owner had never played Dr. Mundo. Not on stage, not in scrims. He confirmed in a stream after Worlds that as AL set up a careful level 1 trap, he was stationary in a bush across the map, reading Mundo's abilities. T1 had a favorable draft, but now they'd have to make it work.
As now the Solar Snare finds Tarzan, and T1 are moving forward. They charm up the enemy jungler. Tarzan's already down, but Doran dies. Hope is excited, but where's the rest of the fight? Carrier tries to get away. Gumayusi right beside him. Flandra here in the front line. As Owner's going to be chopped up. The Mundo dies. Hope's on a killing spree. Flandra going forward, but Faker takes him out. T1, they've got to understand this. Aatrox is probably their target. Flandra arrives. Solar Snare looking to lock him up. Owner taking a ton of damage. Hope is excited. Flandra's got the kill. Solar Snare on Hope, but it's not going to do any more. Flandra's going to try to get away. Goes back in here for the Q1. Tarzan wants to engage with the Gumayusi, but he cannot find him. Flandra over the wall. Wants Faker. Can't get the damage. Hope can't do either. Gumayusi's still alive. T1 out team fight into a legend for another delayed ace.
They'd done it. T1 had emerged from a series that no one had expected them to win, securing their spot in the semifinals. Gumayusi had silenced his doubters, while Doran had closed out the series on his signature Renekton, one of his most played champions of all time, and the same one he faltered with in Game 5 of the MSI Finals. He was the only member of T1's roster to have never won Worlds, and he was beginning to believe that it was really possible. T1's semi-final opponents were TES, a team that, for all intents and purposes, seemed like less of a threat than their LPL rivals. T1 and Faker had never lost a match against the LPL at Worlds, and that wasn't about to change.
T1, and they are just barreling down the bottom lane. Gumayusi gonna get healed up by Redemption, but no! Cream's already got the assassination. He dies in response as Kanavi continues spinning forward, looking for a little bit more. The ricochets from Jackie Love. He needs more, but he can't find it. A double kill to Faker as Owner finishes Jackie, and only 3-6-9 is left. T1 again. They wanted the public execution. They can't get Gumayusi. 3-man pop blossom from Peria, and Jackie Love's dead again. This time, his friends might just go with him. Gumayusi needs a little bit more as Kanavi chases forward on the Doran. The Trundle needs the
100% win rate on against any Chinese team.
kill, but he dies to the Cataclysm. Cream locked up by Faker. It's a Justice Punch to the jaw, and Gumayusi knocks him out. Triple kill for the Kaisa as Hong's a fish out of water, and T1. Here comes the Grand Starfall, and Jackie's already down. Hong goes with them. The focus fire into 3-6-9 as Cream and Kanavi scramble to stay alive, but nobody on Top Esports has anything to stop T1. It's only the mid laner left. They'll get the final kill. And yet again, the highest peaks of the LPL are merely stepping stones for the unkillable Demon King, Faker, and T1.
Somehow, some way, T1 had done it. They were in the finals again. All of their domestic rivals from the LCK had been seeded into the other side of the bracket. On paper, the semifinals looked certain to deliver fans yet another clash between Gen G and T1. Chovy versus Faker in a Worlds finals. But Destiny had other plans in mind. In the history of League of Legends, no organization is quite as cosmically unlucky as KT Rolster. And the so-called telecom wars they had been a part of in League were fairly one-sided.
I'm like, even though I only have a mat on the floor, I think he's in the bed. Oh, Faker maybe in trouble here. Deathmark tries to clean it up for Ryu. Oh, look at the cleanse. Look at the moves. Faker, what was that?
Faker with a huge play. The QSS.
I can't believe I just saw
he
that.
actually won that duel.
I can't believe that happened.
Telecom
I'm gonna lose my
just
mind.
charges.
From the iconic ending to a legendary series on a rainy day in Seoul, Faker and SKT's legend only rose in League. The most iconic player, the most iconic organization. T1 took over the world in two separate eras of impossible domination. KT, on the other hand, were lucky to earn a consolation ribbon. In all the years of OGN and the LCK, KT won only 2 championships. And internationally, their most promising roster ever fell to the eventual champions IG in one of the most legendary, heartbreaking series in World's history. As an org, KT was famous for one thing: disappointment. The KT roller coaster always led to nothing but pain. And at Worlds 2025, very few fans or analysts expected anything different.
KT, they can always win. But have you ever played Pokemon? You know how like there's that ability 5 PP insta-kill, Guillotine, Horn Drill, another option, Fisher, another option. Their moveset, Sheer Cold, is all those moves. So they always just have a 30% chance of like just doing it. And you don't know, and that applies to everyone. No one's immune to being KT'd.
But KT proved everyone wrong.
But watch as KT take the Nexus Towers, the Nexus next, the KT coaster keeps on climbing. For the first time in history, KT are going to semis.
I think that KT has 2 players, Cousin BDD, that I think are absolute top of their role at any given point, could be the best player in the world. I think that KT's performance, regardless of what happens this turn, has been stellar.
KT, all the years, all the tears, all the fears forgotten. It is one step closer to the promised land as we see no defense available for Genji. KT are going to finals!
KT's win against Genji seemed impossible. Cuz was playing like the world-class jungler he'd been for ages, and their supporting players, overlooked and underrated for so much of the year, were popping off. But most terrifying of all, BDD, an outstanding mid laner for most of his career, was ascendant, playing at a level
that was insane.
Never before reached.
프로 생활했던 시기 중에 가장 많은 동기부여를 받고 게임이 즐겁다고 느끼고 있는 시기인 것 같고, 지금 실력 자체는 매년 제가 발전한다고 생각해서, 그래도 지금 제가 느끼기에는 지금 했던 기간 중에는 제일 잘한.
One last series in Chengdu, the 4th telecom war to ever be played in a finals. KT in the world's final for the first time in the organization's history. Everything came down to this.
KT keeps going, but now they want to turn it right back. Instantaneous equalizer. Carrier locked up. Rumble coming in, but denied. Carrier wants to knock Perfect out of the fight, but it might not matter because it's Doran into the back line. Owner stays standing. Cuz take it down. T1 fired back. Doran isolating Cuz. Peter going forward. Finds 3 with the knockup. Perfect there to fall, but Faker turns it right back and knocks down Peter. Doctom, BDD still standing. He's shredding through everybody. The Simmer finally allowed to take over the fight, but they managed to take him. Faker's still alive in the scrappy fight. The extra healing is making all the difference. Doctom doesn't quite have the damage that he needs. KT holding on for dear life. Doctom able to find the kill. Perfect. Cuz Doctom falls. A final hold for T1. It almost turns in their favor. KT pulling back, keeping Perfect alive. Doran wants to make the difference. Cuz goes in. T1 making it happen. Guma fails the flash. It stops the fight from going through. Doran getting whittled down. And in the end, it's Cuz again who refuses to drop. Peter with the CC. I cannot believe it. KT holding on as T1 in the end might finally get to the moon. Not now.
Who comes out ahead? This scrap Faker trying to chase down the extra kill, but so is Cuz.
Carry and Guma are powerful. They move in with the heel. A pillar to immediately block them out. The 50-50 goes to Owner. An immediate subjugate to try and stay standing. Forced to flashback. BDD in the darkness. 3-man. But it's Doran to try to turn it right back. The ulti is decent. Carry wants to turn it back with the hostile takeover. The gold deficit is just too massive. Even a miracle, even an incredible angle was not enough in the face of this T1 lineup. The triple, the quadra, T1 bringing us to silver scrapes.
Guma lives the engage, and T1's hopes live in the grand finals.
Unbelievably, the series reached Game 5. T1 were on the brink of achieving the...
Well, it's telecom war every time it's Game 5. Most of the time, at least.
First three-peat in history. But KT were standing blow for blow with them. In the critical Game 5 draft, KT locked in Zig's first pick for Deokdam, a powerful choice deep in Fearless. T1 responded immediately by drafting a topside trio of Camille, Pantheon, and Galio. They were putting together a dive comp for the ages, and KT knew that Guma was ready to play the game's signature dive ADC. They had no choice but to ban Kai'Sa against a player who'd been benched for his lack of proficiency with her just months ago. The stage was set. One more game.
Tries offering a bit of healing. The tactical sweep there from Doran to slow him down. Owner all but certain to make this one come through. First blood for T1. Doran's Camille takes it. Perfect needs to get out. Has the flash available, but Doran just going to immediately flash follow. The adaptive defensive, the hook shot still there. The Q back for a bit of healing, but it's not enough. The combo locks him in the ultimatum, finds the damage. The taunt is there, and Doran takes another.
Faker Galio in Game 5 World Finals here.
Doran was so close to achieving everything he'd dreamed of. The game was in his hands, but he'd faltered in that position before. And with the world watching, he was feeling the pressure. But this time, when he went a little too deep, his team was ready to back him up.
Doran going in, doesn't connect, hookshot wall dive, immediately CC'd. Exhaust coming in as well. Combo over the top from Guma. Finds two. Exhaust is carrying, moves his way to the backline. Faker rains down from the sky. Locks up BDD and obliterates the hope for KT Roster.
The bullet time will end the time of KT here at Worlds as T1 will chase down Cuz and look for the Baron.
Gumayushi's picture-perfect MF ult netted him a staggering 7,700 total damage, opening the door for his teammates to clean up the fight. KT, despite fighting tooth and nail, were finally broken.
All T's going across the board. BDD caught off the side. A good flash to take him out, and Guma has to be careful, but he's so damn fast. Owner, fire up BDD. He goes gold in an extra 2.5 seconds to consider what went wrong as T1 looks set to end it all.
They're going to finish the job. It is Doran and Peter left alone in the mid lane, and T1 will ace them.
T1 earning their legacy again and again. And again, there can be no doubting it. 4 players on the Rift today, making the impossible possible. Owner, Faker, Gumayushi, Carrier, and now Doran as well are world champions.
There are fans who have been happy to discredit Doran, just as they always have, who have painted a single death as if it tells the story of a series, of a year, of a career. But T1 was ready to back him up. The game was all but won thanks to Doran. T1 fought through a gauntlet of super teams domestically to prove themselves over and over again this year, thanks to Doran. And finally, he was a champion. A year of turmoil, of struggle, of hardship. But T1 did the impossible. Faker did the impossible. 3 trophies, 3 years in a row. And for Gumayushi and Doran, they proved the haters wrong, proved they were in a league of their own. In the weeks that followed Worlds, Gumayushi announced his departure from T1, opting to sign with Hanwha Life and reunite with Zeus.
Unfortunately, it didn't go too well. It hasn't gone too well yet, right now. But maybe after the LCK Cup, maybe it actually gets better, but we'll see.
Coming superstar Pays replaced.
Also, this guy has the most kills in a single series at 28. 28 kills in a singular series, the most at any international event during MSI 24 against PLG.
Released him on T1, while Doran chose to re-sign with his new team in the hope of future glory. We don't know what the future
I mean, why would you not extend after what just happened?
holds. Whether T1 can continue to do the impossible as one by one the members of ZOFGK seek their futures elsewhere. But this title, this moment, came down in large part to two players who so many people were ready to count out. And for one perfect day in Chengdu, they reminded everyone, you never can.
네, 일단 뭐 어떠한 특별한 의미를 두고 하고 있는 것 같지는 않고 그냥 최대한 즐기면서 하고 있고요. 청두에서 또 결승전을 하면서 우승을 하게 된다면 되게 인생에서 가장 좋은 추억으로 남을 그런 경기이지 않을까 싶습니다.
But also, one thing to remember. Bummer signed till 28. I'm not sure about Carrier. We shall see, won't we? Okay, give me 1 second while I go get something. Let's not do this one. Actually, we are gonna watch Idol, actually. Okay, this one is not that long, actually. This thing. We're gonna react this one, and it's their solos.
One group. 5 distinct talents.
Each one is also different.
Now, imagine. Each of them goes solo. Before Idol even existed, one trainee had already figured something out. On the 5th of November 2017, Jeon Soyeon released Jelly, her first solo track. It was simple, bold, and fully hers. Hip-hop, sharp delivery, and lyrics she wrote herself. Even from the beginning, she was already involved in the creative process. And yes, that is rare in K-pop. Later that year, she released Idol Song. She wrote and composed it, and even helped shape the arrangement. Years later, she shared that the name Idol first came to her while working on this song.
Ain't nobody do it like me.
She had also competed on Unpretty Rap Star 3, writing her own verses for each round. The show pushed her to adapt quickly and perform under pressure. By the time Idol debuted in 2018, Soyeon already understood her strength: creative control. 3 years passed. The group released hit after hit and built a name for bold concepts and self-production. Then, on the 5th of July 2021, Soyeon returned to solo work with her first mini album, Windy. The title track, Beam Beam, felt playful and unexpected, bright, a little chaotic, but very intentional. It was different from Idol's darker era at the time. Here, Soyeon let herself have fun. She wrote and composed the track, working with producers Pop Time and Kako to shape a sound that felt lighter but still confident. The Windy concept introduced a new side of her, a carefree character in her 20s, loving fast food and living freely. It felt personal but also well thought out. After years of leading Idol, she knew exactly how to build a character and make it believable. The EP also included featuring BB and Lee Youngji, 3 of the most talked about female rappers of their generation on one track. The song plays with the idea of what a bad woman is supposed to look like in the industry. Instead of fitting into that image, they twist it, mock it, and own it. Each verse feels confident but relaxed. No one trying to dominate, just 3 strong voices sharing space naturally. It felt like collaboration done right. Another track on the EP, Quit, showed a different side. A breakup song, but not dramatic. The lyrics feel straightforward, almost blunt. She talks about walking away without begging or over-explaining. There is no big performance moment attached to it, just the writing carrying the emotion, and that makes it hit in a quieter way. And while she was building her world, Yuki had already started building hers too. May 13th, 2021. Yuki released her debut single album, A Page, while Idol was on temporary hiatus following the controversy around former member Soojin. At the time, Yuki had been promoting in China. This solo felt like a way to keep moving forward. The album opened with a personal track about growing stronger through pressure. The lyrics reflected her move from China to Korea and the challenges that came with it. She worked on the melody herself, making sure the song carried her own experience. Then came
You found the MIDIs of probably Mians.
Loud, confident. Pop rock with heavy bass, far from Idol's usual sound. Her deep voice carried the entire track. It fit her naturally. The concept leaned into freedom and risk, like she was ready to step out on her own. The track gained attention internationally, and for many listeners, it was the first time hearing her voice take the lead from start to finish. Soyeon had already shown that having your own style matters. Now Yuki was proving that each member could stand alone too, and she would not be the last to try. The 27th of April 2022, MADEIN stepped forward with Drive. The song started soft, pop rock with nostalgic melodies and clear vocals. MADEIN had spent years as Idol's main vocalist, often balancing out the group's stronger concepts. Drive finally gave her room to stand at the center. Her debut EP, My, highlighted her tone and the kind of artist she naturally is. The sound felt light and dreamy, very different from the intense image Idol had built. The B-sides showed that she could carry a full project on her own. She even wrote the lyrics for Rain, adding her own touch to the EP. For fans used to hearing her inside group choruses, this felt new. She let her voice flow more freely. Even simple lines sounded good in her voice. The music video followed the same direction. Bright colors, calm scenes, and a gentle mood that matched the song. Drive worked because it stayed true to her strengths. She did not try to be louder or sharper. She simply leaned into what suited her best. 2023 felt different. The solos were no longer small side projects. They started to feel more complete and intentional. In February, Minnie collaborated with Anne-Marie on Expectations. It was a simple but meaningful moment. She sounded completely natural next to Anne-Marie, proving her voice fits anywhere. On the 8th of November 2023, Soojin returned with She had left Idol in 2021. Many wondered what she would do next, and this moment showed it clearly. The title means Miss or Young Lady in Korean. The song blended retro pop with modern production while adding traditional Korean instruments. Even the choreography drew from traditional dance, reworked in her own way. It felt thoughtful, controlled, and focused. Because of everything that happened before, the lyrics carried extra weight. The comeback did not rely on noise or heavy promotion. It relied on her alone, and the fans who stayed. 2 weeks later, on November 16, Soyeon joined Winter from aespa and Liz from Eye for Nobody. A rare collaboration
Oh, I remember this.
between members of 3 major fourth-generation groups. Different styles, one track. It felt like a rare moment. Then, in December, Yuki teamed up with Alan Walker and Jake for Fire, an EDM-based track that expanded her reach internationally.
I also remember this one. This was pretty cool.
2024 did not slow down. On the 23rd of April 2024, Yuki released her first mini-album, Yuki 1. 2 years after Bonnie and Clyde, she returned with a full project.
She's certified freak.
The title track, Freak, felt more confident and complete. But the real strength of the album was its range. Pop songs, R&B moments, dance tracks, different styles, but still clearly hers. Yuki handled the writing and production across the album and even collaborated with international producers. The results were strong. Yuki 1 sold over 550,000 copies in its first week, setting a new record for a
That's impressive.
female soloist at the time. It showed that she was not just a member branching out. She had built a solid solo fan base of her own. A month later, on the 23rd of May 2024, Soojin returned with her second EP, Riz. This time, she sounded more sure of herself. The title track, Mona Lisa, leaned into sleek pop with light jazz touches. The performance stood out again. Controlled movements, clear lines, nothing overdone. By her second release, it was obvious she understood what suited her and stayed consistent with it. That same year, Miyeon showed another side during the Idol World Tour. She performed Sky Walking, a self-composed song that was later officially released in August 2025. It marked her first clear step into composing her own music. In September 2024, Soyeon produced for the band QWER. The track became a hit and showed that her production skills were not limited to her own projects. She was now creating songs for other artists too.
Local tax experts are
That's
here.
pretty.
Now you can meet with a
That's pretty
TurboTax
good,
expert in your
actually.
community. They can do your taxes for you
Doing
and get you every dollar
helping
you
other
deserve.
groups
Local
or
tax
other things
experts
do their
are
own
here.
songs as
Hand
well
off your
at the same
taxes
time
with
as your own.
confidence.
Okay.
Are you lazy?
No, I'm just perfect.
2025 kept the pace going. On the 21st of January 2025, Minnie released her first solo EP. She became the fourth member to debut solo. Fans had been waiting, and she came prepared.
You think you know me, I'm her. I'm her.
The EP centered around showing different sides of herself. As she shared, she wanted to present every version of who she is. She was involved in writing and composing all 7 tracks, making the project feel personal from start to finish. The title track, Her, felt confident but not loud about it. Blind Eyes Red leaned into her softer R&B side. Drive You Crazy brought Yuki in, letting their chemistry play out in a different setting. And Obsession, featuring 10 of Wavy, added a smooth back and forth that fans had been curious to see. Back in Thailand, the response was strong. Minnie has always been open about where she comes from, and this release felt personal for fans there. It showed she could carry a full project without leaning on the group name. In March 2025,
that's good.
Yuki returned again with a bright and playful digital single. Then in September, she returned with the message leaned into drive and confidence, fitting naturally with her tone. 2 solo releases in 1 year. She stayed active and visible. On the 3rd of November 2025, Mi-yeon returned with her second mini-album, My Lover. The title track, Say My Name, was gorgeous. It was soft and soothing, fitting her voice comfortably. But Reino, released earlier as a pre-release, showed something different. Featuring Cold, the song leaned darker and moodier than her earlier work. It felt more stripped back and serious, nothing like the bright image people were used to from her.
I think that's the point. Kind of the point is to
Across the album, she focused on love from different angles. This time, she sounded more sure of herself, not just vocally, but in how she chose her songs. Shuwa had not released a full solo project yet, but 2025 still marked a moment for her. She collaborated with Minnie on Burn Me Into the Light for the drama The Resurrected, showing more stability and confidence in her vocals. She also received her first lyric credit on If You Want from the We Are EP. It was a small step, but an important one.
Nice.
For the first time, her name appeared in the writing credits. It felt like the beginning of something. By early 2026, their solo work no longer felt separate from the group. It stood just as strong. What started with So-yeon building from scratch grew into something bigger. Minnie writing full projects, Yuki breaking sales records, Mi-yeon stepping into composing, Shua entering the credits. Even Soojin, independently, proving she could stand on her own. Each solo made one thing clear. They are not just members of a group, they are creators. And that is why their solo songs feel different. Not because they are side projects, but because they sound like them. Idol dared to be bold. Will you?
I makes sense to me. All right. Makes sense that, eventually they try solo because they're already writing. So, makes sense. All right. That's okay. Do this. Okay, here. So, probably have a video tomorrow because I didn't make one Tuesday, just something. So, I should have video tomorrow. Okay. Yeah, all right. I'll see you. What again? If you're rewatching, like the stream, subscribe if you want. Comment your thoughts on the topics I talked about. And I will see you later.
Demon King, the first inductee into the Hall of Legends, and the greatest of all time,
Welcome to the Blizzard Arena.
And the quest for a champion begins today.
The anticipation has been building, and it is finally time. We are live.
Are you
That is a really.
Can you get over the roof there?
Oh my!
Oh my! What a play! What a grab!
Another jump here off the high ground. Super goes forward, but gets stunned up. The EMP comes in, and ding! He rains down hell from above. Here comes Pine. Gets one, gets two. Looking for a bit more, gets another one.
Tuno's down again. That heralds disaster generally for the Fusion, and Carpe wasn't far behind. Prophet! He's killed 4 players now on his own.
From Vancouver, locks him in the sound barrier. Sound the bomb coming in from John. Oh my God! He does it again.
Flutter now moving onto the Widowmaker, taking the clutch into his own hands. The headshot and the headshot and the headshot.
Okay, I like this for the Gladiators. We're going to try and circle around. I'm going to call this the merry-go-round because it makes me laugh. Makes me happy, and Sean Paul switches to the Widowmaker at just the right time. Oh, the Gravy!
I'm the best Tracer in the world.
Oh my word!
I mean, you could
could have told me that you spoke English, honestly.
The fans never thought they'd see this day. It took 43 matches. Feels like a really emotional moment here.
사랑해.
Alrighty, I'll see you all later. Bye.